escalation here, or should they expect anything? Yes.
No. No, there won't be escalation. I don't think there needs to be. Look, the place is falling apart. It's a mess. And they've sort of lost control. We're freeing up Cuba.
President Trump wants to do with Cuba what he did with Venezuela. We haven't heard much about the former strongman in Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, since his arrest. The administration wants to do the same thing with Raúl Castro in Cuba. Today, they indicted the 94-year-old former president and 5 others. They were charged with the 1996 shoot-down of the Brothers to the Rescue aircraft. For those who don't remember, Brothers to the Rescue was a nonprofit in Miami. It's no longer active. It assisted and rescued Cuban refugees trying to escape Cuba and come to America. The Cuban Air Force shot down 2 of the group's planes flying just outside Cuban airspace. 4 people were killed, including 3 Americans. 1 survived. Immediately following, Cuba's pilots mocked the survivor. So it took Delta Force, remember, to capture Maduro in Venezuela and bring him to America. We all woke up to that news slightly after Christmas. Maduro faces charges for drug trafficking. Today, reporters asked Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche how they plan to capture Castro.
What are the prospects that you could get Raúl Castro to the United States to face justice?
We indict men outside of this country all the time, and there's all kinds of different ways that we get them here. The reason why we indict somebody is because we want them here to face justice in front of a jury of their peers. So we expect that he will show up here by his own will or by another way.
Very friendly audience there in Miami. With us now, William LeGrande, professor of government at American University. Professor, good to see you. Thank you. Do you think, as you look at it, that Cuba is more like Venezuela or more like Iran?
I'm afraid it looks more like Iran to me. Reason being that, unlike Venezuela, Cuba's regime is a well-institutionalized communist political system, and Raúl Castro hasn't really been in charge of it for almost a decade. He retired almost a decade ago. So he's still very influential, of course, but he's not running the country day to day.
Would it be more likely, if he's not running the country, why wouldn't they give him up?
Oh, well, because he's an icon of the Cuban Revolution, and the people who are running the country are people who rose to power under his and his brother's authority. Okay, so loyalty down there may still mean something. Shan, you were one of the top Department of Justice officials during the Clinton administration when this happened. Bill Clinton back in 1996 talking about it. Take a listen.
These small airplanes were unarmed, and clearly so. Cuban authorities knew that. The planes pose no credible threat to Cuba's security. We must be clear. This shooting of civilian aircraft out of the air was a flagrant violation of international law.
All right, so if it was so obvious and so easy to indict Raúl Castro now 20, 30 years later, why not do it back then?
It's a good question, and I can't speak to anything on the inside of the department in those days. But the facts would remain the same, and I have a lot of faith in the lower federal judiciary and the citizens on that grand jury and the citizens on a trial jury. Not so much faith right now in the ability and skills of the current Justice Department. And it's taken an awfully long time. I'm not sure if I don't view this a little bit skeptically in terms of they've been building the case for 30 years. Suddenly they're ready to go with the indictment. I hope for the sake of those families and for the sake of the integrity of the system, they've got the evidence. They've got the evidence, go to it. If they don't, that's bad.
I'm based on the applause at that press conference, I'm not sure you need a lot of evidence with a jury in Miami to convict Raúl Castro. Professor, this is all to put pressure on the Cuban regime and keep tightening the thumb screws until at some point they break. There is no oil or fuel right now in Cuba. The Chinese and Russians have all but abandoned that country. What I'm hearing you say, though, is that the communist regime there would rather stay in power over a country that is destitute than even make any concessions where they may stay in power and have a relationship with the United States?
Well, first, let me say I think you're exactly right that the indictment of Raúl Castro is just one more ratcheting up on the escalatory ladder that really began with the seizure of President Maduro back in January, when the administration cut off Venezuelan oil flows to Cuba. The Cubans would like to make a deal with the United States, but it has to be a deal that's built around economic issues, not around them changing their political system or changing their political leadership. They say that that's a matter of their national sovereignty, and they're just not going to give in on that. They've drawn that red line 3 or 4 times in the last month.
Wow. Well, sometimes red lines can be changed by force or coercion. This is Rick Scott, senator from Florida, making that case.
Well, Castro controls all the money, all right? They control all the money. So hopefully now the money's drying up because of what Trump has done. But if you look at the people of Cuba, they're willing to fight for their freedom. They've been doing it. Hopefully now they're seeing that America will stand up for them, that they'll do it on their own. But if it takes something, we should not take anything off the table. I mean, the same thing happened to Maduro should happen to Raúl Castro.
Professor, you're making the point, though, that even if the same thing happened to Raúl Castro that happened to Maduro, it wouldn't really make a difference.
No, it won't change the regime in the same way that it changed the regime in Venezuela. And that's why I'm concerned that the Iran model may actually be the one that we end up with.
Well, so far that hasn't changed the regime in Tehran either, although I think there's lots of reasons to continue the force, or at least the pressure on Iran. Shan, last point to you. Are we in a different place where now the Justice Department is being used to affect not just domestic policy, but foreign policy?
It certainly looks that way. And
is that a good thing?
I think that's a bad thing from a long-term perspective. Foreign policy should be within foreign policy, military as needed. They have to work together. Using a domestic criminal justice system as part of that triad has poor repercussions for the future, because it makes people question the politicization of the Justice Department, and that ultimately hurts the system.
Well, that's kind of like Clausewitz, right? War is politics by other means. Shan Wu, Professor William LeoGrande, thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.